Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Steven here, Northwest Small Batch Brewing. It is time for another brew talk. If you recall, last week we talked about different kinds of off flavors that occur, I would say the most common, in my opinion, in homebrewing. There's a whole bunch of them, but there's, I think, three really common ones. The one I'm not going to really probably cover, because I've covered it before, and I just don't think it's a big issue because it's so easy to fix, is the DMS issue. If you're boiling your wort and you keep the pot covered, you don't even need to uncover the pot for very much. You can just do a crack in the lid, and it will be enough for it to release enough DMS that you're not going to get that in your beer. So I don't think that's so much an issue. What is an issue? Last week, what did we talk about? We talked about diacetyl, right? And doing diacetyl rest and how to do a test for diacetyl. This week, I want to talk about what I think is even more of an issue, from my experience anyway, and is probably the most common off flavor, and that is aceltaldhyde. Now, I think some people pronounce it aceltaldhyde or something like that. Anyway, aceltaldhyde is how I pronounce it. I also think that some people are more sensitive to that off flavor than others. I can pick it up like nobody's business, which really sucks because that means that if it's in there, it's going to kind of taint my experience with drinking that particular beer. So what is it? Well, so let's talk about what it tastes like. So for me, at least, it's this cidery, like green apple cidery taste that you get in your beer. That's just not, it's just not pleasant. It doesn't belong there. It throws everything off. Some people say it's more solvent, sort of like paint thinnery solvent smell or taste. But basically what causes it is stressed fermentation, right? You're stressing your yeast. So you want to do all the normal stuff, right? You want to make sure that you're, putting enough oxygen and yeast nutrient and whatnot into your beer. So that you don't have these things happen. You want to make sure that you're fermenting at a temperature that's, not going to stress the yeast. You don't want to adjust the temperature drastically because that also stresses the yeast. But besides all of this, you can sometimes still have aceltaldhyde coming up in your beer. I'll tell you a little secret. You can't get rid of it. There's your secret, okay? Aceltaldhyde is in every beer, every single beer, and you cannot get rid of it 100%. It's just not possible. The best you can hope for is to reduce it to the point where it's not really detectable while you're drinking it. That's what we're hoping for. So there is a little secret here, I think, to help with getting rid of it or keeping it from happening in the first place. So basically, in order to break down aceltaldhyde in your beer, the yeast needs zinc. Now, you may have heard of this before. The funny thing is, it's hard to really find what you want to add as far as zinc to your beer in order to help fight aceltaldhyde. You can't just buy, zinc tablets off the grocery aisle, with the vitamins, and crush them up and put them in your beer. It's not the right format. It doesn't work. Yes, you could probably go online and buy some zinc sulfate, which is what you're really looking for. But even then, it's not necessarily formulated right. So what I'm saying is, what I mean by that is that you could add this zinc that you think is going to help, but your yeast can't break it down. It can't work with that zinc, if it's not in the right form. So just buying the, like grocery store zinc off of the vitamin aisle is not going to cut it. So here's the deal. You want to add zinc, basically zinc sulfate, in the form of a yeast nutrient. Now, normally you would add between 0.15 to 0.5 milligrams per liter of zinc. I'll get more into dosage because that's kind of confusing, for the average homebrewer to go, well, what does that mean? How am I supposed to put in? There are a couple of, so first of all, the yeast nutrient I usually use is Fermade K. The reason because there's a Fermade O and there's a Fermade K, right? Fermade K has the diammonium sulfate, and it has just the organic yeast, like the dead yeast cells and stuff and whatnot in it. And that gives it two things. It gives it the slow, like over time yeast nutrient, and then the diammonium sulfate is the quick boost, like the Red Bull of energy right at the beginning. Now, if you don't want that diammonium sulfate, you can go with the Fermade O, which is just, the like organic material. It's up to you. However, neither of those, from my understanding, contain zinc, which is what you need to fight aceltaldhyde. So there are a couple of yeast nutrients that do have zinc. One of them is a Y yeast nutrient that I had trouble finding. There's another one, though, from White Labs and I don't even know if I want to try to pronounce this, Cervomyces. These are, here, I'll tell you what it says on here. Cervomyces, biological nutrient from Danstar, 1 capsule for every 1 to 7 gallons. Let's see what else it says. It's a zinc supplement that conforms to the restrictions of the Reinheitsgebot purity laws. Cervomyces enables any yeast strain to incorporate essential nutrients into its cellular structure. I'm looking to see if it says anything about help reduce diacetyl. Well, that's good, I guess. It's not what we're talking about today, but so there's 2 options. You can add the capsule during boil, because here, let me show you what it looks like. It just looks like those gel caps, you know, like medicine pills that you take. Here we go. So it's just like, and so the gel cap would melt if you boil it, and then, you know, but I've never liked boiling my yeast nutrients. I mean, it doesn't, I guess, hurt it because it's not like there's anything living in it, but I feel like some of it could get lost because you're leaving some dead loss at the bottom of your kettle and maybe in the hoses. And I don't know, I just want all of it in the actual fermentation. So I never put yeast nutrient in my boil anymore. I just put it directly into the fermenter. So I still use Fermade K per the, you know, whatever dosage it says on the bottom box. And then I use 1 capsule. And if you don't want to boil these in the boil, you just open the capsule up and, you know, dump the contents of one of these. And this is just the zinc. There's probably some other stuff in here, but it specifically talks about it being like a zinc formulated nutrient. So in my opinion, you use this in addition to your normal yeast nutrient. And like I said, beyond that, make sure that you aerate your wort. I have found that just shaking it doesn't quite get the job done. It's okay. You know, it's not the end of the world if that's all you can do. But I have found that using the drill bit attachment that I use for mashing to aerate the wort seems to actually help. It adds more oxygen than I can get in there just by shaking it. And I feel like I've noticed a better fermentation from that. So it might be worth looking into, you know, if you want to invest in it. I haven't done it myself, but, you know, the whole oxygen stone and bottled oxygen. It's just a lot of more stuff, you know, that I don't really want to deal with if I don't have to. So I don't think I'm going to do that at this time. But using that drill bit really helps. And like I said, large temperature swings can result in aceltaldhyde issues. So make sure you don't do crazy temperature swings on your beer. If you sniff when you open your fermenter and you're thinking it's done and you sniff it and you smell that aceltaldhyde, at least I can smell it. At that point, really all you could do is you could raise the temperature up to room temperature to warm it up to, like, you know, 70 degrees Fahrenheit or so. You could put a little bit more, you know, new packet of yeast and see if that would help. Give it another week, maybe some more yeast nutrients. At that point, that's about all you can do. You know, give it the swirl to reincorporate the yeast that's in there throughout the, you know, wort. But for the most part, this might be the trick. At any rate, I will be back in another week for another brew talk or a homebrew video of some sort. And until then, keep on brewing.